I had to give a speech, and they had like tech talked it before what we had to say because we were speaking in front of Sony representatives and everything. They were saying that we had to like thank Sony because of their efforts for making the ceremony. So yeah, I thanked Sony, but I unfortunately forgot to thank my parents in the span of the moment. So I was a bit disappointed, and my parents were disappointed about that as well. But
Greetings and welcome back on the show. If you ever picked up your phone and thought, I can probably make better pictures than this, what if you actually followed that and end up winning one of the biggest photography awards in the world when you're just 16? If you want to know how that even happens, well, you're in the right place. I'm Tom Jacob, and this is the Camera Cafe Show. Today, folks, my guest is Daniel Murray, a photographer from Scotland who, when he was 16, won the title of Youth Photographer of the Year 2024 at the Sony World Photography Awards. And this is the story of how this all happened to a teenager who just picked up a camera and went for it. No big plan, no formal training, just curiosity, a phone, and figuring things out step by step. In our conversation, we talk about how Daniel went from shooting on his phone to creating images with a strong cinematic feel with a real camera, and suddenly finding himself on a stage in London holding a trophy. We also get into the story behind this winning shot, what happened after he won, and how he deals with feedback. Grab a coffee, settle in, and let's get into it with Daniel Murray. Good afternoon, Daniel, there in Scotland.
good afternoon.
How's been your day today?
Good, yeah, good. Thanks for having me. I posted my camera because I was selling my old camera, so I did that today.
And I hope you told all your friends you're going to be on the podcast because we need some publicity here.
I will. I will be putting this everywhere.
Very good. Let's go a bit back. Daniel, how old are you now, Daniel? 15?
I'm
16?
60. I turned 16. Yeah.
Then I suppose, like most of kids your age, you start taking pictures with a phone. How did that evolve from a phone to getting a camera?
Well, I noticed that this phone had like limitations, and I wanted a blurry background. Like that's the first thought I had. I was like, I want this blurry background that you can see on the internet and everything. So that was my initial because I think that's how most people start. They just want a bit more like professional looking images. So I wanted that, and then I did a bit of research, and then it came up with recommending like interchangeable lenses, cameras, and stuff. And that's pretty much where it started, just from taking photos with my family on my iPhone.
Yeah. And anyone you looked up to on social media or photographers
At the time, when I was just photographing on my phone and my little point and shoot camera I had, I didn't really have anyone to look up to or any influences at that point. But as I got my first camera, I started taking it really seriously. But that was about a year or so later, because I had just sort of had my camera and my phone. I didn't really take it as a hobby. It's more of just a side thought. I don't know. Something like that, yeah.
And how you convinced your family to get you a camera?
Well,
what you had to use?
Yes. So I was fortunate enough for my Christmas to get a sum of money from my aunt. And with that money, I researched what camera would like fit this budget. I think it was like £600 I got, which was really generous from my aunt. So I got £600, and then I had to search out what lenses and what cameras I could get within that budget. So then I did a little bit of research, and then at that point I had like a few inspirational artists I had looked up to. So I had messaged them asking, I asked them a few questions, and they gave me a few questions back, and we discussed what camera would be good for like what I thought I was going to shoot. So I think graphic.cal on Instagram, he recommended me the Canon 5D Mark II, or he told me what camera he used, and then I was inspired by what camera he used. So I bought that camera. I didn't think much of it. I bought that camera, and then I bought a Sigma lens, I think, or a zoom lens. It was a very soft lens. So I noticed that as soon as I got it, and then I was like, yeah, I want a sharp hit straight away. So yeah. And then I got a 50mm 1.8, and that's where it all started, I think.
That's where it all started. And now you've got a mix of, when I look at your website, landscape pictures, street photography,
Yes.
some portraits. But then there is like a certain mood or storytelling, no, that you have across all of these genres you're trying to do.
Well, I tend to, cinematic is what I tend to try and get to.
Mhm.
But cinematic is a very broad term. Like it can mean pretty much anything. I mean, like, it's just, I want to tell like some sort of story and it's up to like the viewer to see what that story
Mhm.
is. And then in terms of like colors and composition, that sometimes is like, I can be purely inspired by, for example, if I watch a movie and it has certain colors in it, I will try and reproduce that. Or if I, like, for example, like in cinematography, I heard that they use color to like evoke emotions. And I try and do the same through my photography. I just, for example, if I added teals into the shadows, it would give a more moody look. Something as simple as
Mhm.
that.
We will talk about editing process a bit later
Yeah.
on, Daniel. But now let's dive into the most interesting part, Sony World Award Youth Winners. How did it start and when did you get the idea to submit it?
Right. So I think competitions is the same guy that influenced me. So graphic.cal on Instagram. I
Mhm.
think we were talking about competitions and then he recommended me a few. I asked what if they had any, he recommended a few. And then um, I searched up like competitions, photography competitions up on Google. And then I think the Sony one was the first one that came up. So I was like, but why not? Why not enter this? So
Mhm.
then I was like, I didn't really think much of it because I was at kind of a beginner at that point, so I wasn't too concerned about who I was going up against. I entered the competition, and then I think it was the summer holidays. I took the photo, and then when I got home, so around August, I submitted the
Mhm.
photo. So it wasn't near the end of the start. Like after I learned that people had tactics and everything to try and
Mhm.
get the judges' attention to enter at the end of the competition so that they see it. But I think I'm proof that it doesn't really matter. You enter at the time.
I think it doesn't really matter, but it had been wonderful. You had told me it was the last day of the competition. That had been amazing, Daniel.
Yeah.
So you send it in, and then suddenly I think you will get an email from Sony saying you were shortlisted, or
And
what happened next?
I think since I wasn't responding to emails at that point, I wasn't really into all that yet. So they tried to text me and phone me. So I was in class in school, and I was getting texts saying, "Please phone me back on this number when you have time. We are from Crew Arts at that point." And then I was very curious, obviously, at that point. And then as soon as I
Mhm.
got home, I responded, and then they said, "Please check." Phoned me and they said, "Please check your email." And then I checked my email, and then I saw that I had been shortlisted. So that was already like I was already couldn't believe
Mhm.
it at that point. I was like over the moon. So yeah, at that point, I think that's how it started. And then I searched up. I didn't know what a shortlist was at that thing, to be honest. So I searched out what shortlist, and then I saw on the website shortlist have the chance to compete for the title of Youth Photographer of the Year. And at that point, I couldn't believe what I was
Wow.
in for. Yeah.
Mhm. And then what happened next, Daniel? You were invited to London, or?
So, and yeah, after that, and then I had been told like 3 months later that I had won, and I was in disbelief. So yeah, it went really quickly as well. Now that you say that, we did. I basically we went from knowing to London in like 3 days, and it was incredible. I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. And you had to give a speech there,
Yes.
Daniel. And what minor detail happened there in the speech when you gave it?
Minor detail. Yeah, I had to give a speech, and then
Mhm.
they had like tech talked it before what we had to say because we were speaking in front of so many representatives and everything. And they were saying that we had to like thank Sony just to show that because of their efforts for making the ceremony. So it was great. So yeah, I thanked Sony, but I unfortunately forgot to thank my parents in the span of the moment. So I was a bit disappointed, and my parents were disappointed about that as well. But forgot to say thanks to my aunt.
Daniel, let's set this straight. I give you a chance now. Give them thanks. They will hear it.
Well, I thank you, my parents and my aunt, for the money and constant support and constant telling you that I am good enough for photography and everything. I appreciate it.
There you go. The record is straight
Yes.
now, Daniel.
Very good.
So your winning picture was of a surfer walking on the beach in Cornwall.
Yes.
How, I think it's from a higher viewpoint taken, how you came up on this scene.
So I had multiple people asking me if I could take it on a drone, but no, that wasn't the case. I took it on a cliff thing, so it looked pretty high, and it was just the beach was really low down as well. I think I was at the back of a restaurant, and I had to squeeze past some bins to get into that few places. That's pretty much it. I took it. Yeah.
Did you plan it? You knew the spot, or you just saw it?
No, I just saw it. It was a spur of the moment photo. So I saw the beach or slowly approaching like the middle of the beach. And then I would like, oh, yeah, I need to take a photo of that. And then I ran over past the veterans to get a photo of the surfer on the beach. Yeah.
Okay. And then there is this prickly point of, there were more people on the beach, I suppose. And you decided for your photography to edit them out, which for me is fine. Everybody does what he wants, but there was a bit of controversy around
Yeah,
this.
so months after I had won the award, I posted a video on TikTok showing my process of how I edited the photo that won me the title. And then the comments are surprisingly negative, actually. I've probably received more negative than positive. So they were all just saying like, this is not photography, this is art. And they didn't approve that I was removing people from the photo to make it more impactful image, in my opinion. But yeah, some of them were quite funny. Some of them were saying that I was like the youth Photoshopper of the year. Yeah, creativity. Go from that.
You always have to believe in yourself, Daniel. Though, I mean, if not, you will go crazy at it out in the social media world.
Yeah. I just had to ignore them. So it didn't really bother me, I thought.
And what did you feel when you were standing there up, giving your speech, and then realizing that you're all between very good photographers and you won first prize?
I felt like I slipped when I slightly didn't deserve it at the point. Like it was too good of a prize for what I had done, but I slowly come to accept that. I won it, so I did deserve it. But yeah, it did. I was mixed with nervousness and happiness. Obviously, it's very nerve-wracking going up and speaking in front of people in general. But then when you take into account that there are Sony representatives and people that you look up to, like, and you won, but I think the fact that they're there for you and the ceremony also makes it a little bit easier. So yeah.
Excellent. And so for everybody going to enter this year, the prize, what you got from Sony, Daniel?
So this year, I gained global recognition. They published me on there. I appeared on BBC and CNN and everything. That was surreal. They have given me a trophy, a certificate, and a lens and a camera. Obviously, that's the best part. So I got the Sony A7 Mark IV and the Sony 24 to 105 f4G lens. Oh, yeah, that's what they gave me. I think the day after the ceremony, they gave us the prizes the day after the ceremony. I think it was one of the top Sony people there as well. They handed it to me as in a little gift bag. It was yes, I'm using this camera right now for the podcast.
You see, mate, and it's very good quality. Daniel, then you started out with your Canon, that I suppose is full frame, and now you went to the Sony that is mirrorless. There have been any learning curve switching between both?
Well, I think since I came from the Canon 5D Mark II, which was already a sort of professional camera, it wasn't as big as a learning curve. I think because I think Sony made things actually easier for me because the autofocus in my old Canon 5D Mark II, the autofocus was quite dodgy. So I just manual focused all the time just so that I could get the sharpest images, because when I used autofocus, it used to make my images really soft for some reason. Like it slightly missed it. But with my Sony, It's like I don't even have to think about it anymore. I just think about the art straight away. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's the advantages. And no, I wouldn't say there wasn't much of a learning curve. No.
And lens-wise, which is the lens you're using the most now?
Lens wise, I only have one lens, so I'm using the 24 to 105 all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think I went to get a G Master lens from Sony, the 35 millimeter 1.4, so
Mhm.
that I can do more low light stuff because I always
Yeah.
have to bump up my ISO quite high when I'm doing like late afternoon stuff, and especially at Scotland. And it gets this dark like pretty early. So yeah, I need to get a low aperture lens so I can do some more shoot stuff at night and landscape and more astrophotography maybe.
But then you're a perfect spot for this. I mean, it's dark at 5 p.m. You can go out very
Yes.
early. Now you touch on this, Daniel. Editing, I think it plays a kind of a big role in your photography. What you're using to edit your pictures?
So currently I'm using the Lightroom mobile, and for so far it's been fine for what I'm doing. I think when I transitioned from bigger file sizes to from like the Canon to Sony, storage started to become a little bit of an issue. But then I coincidentally won a year subscription from Adobe for cloud
Useful.
storage, and like
Mm-hmm.
I won quite a few things this year. Yeah, but yeah, so that helped with storage. So I'm still editing on Lightroom mobile. Yeah.
Okay. And you're using some kind of presets? Because I think you also have your own presets on your webpage. No?
Yeah, so I use my own presets that I have created, and yeah, in most images I just put that on. But if it's only certain cases or certain images that I just start from scratch. So that's sort of how my process would.
Daniel, now going a bit to the future, where do you see yourself going with all this, with photography?
I think I see myself doing this maybe full time if I can, if I earn enough. But I think I'm still going to be doing it on the side, even if I don't do it full time. I think I'll be still doing this as long as I live. So hopefully, I don't like lose passion in it over as time goes.
Because now I think you're studying in school photography,
I did.
right?
I'm currently studying the equivalent to A-level photography. That's
Mhm.
England, so I'm studying the equivalent in Scotland.
And what I have to imagine with this is with like darkroom place, or it's all only digital.
No, they are. We do digital photography and photography, yeah. So they make us use Photoshop. So that's probably I'm more used to Lightroom. So
Oh, well, but you can combine both.
yeah.
Then you got best of two worlds.
Mhm.
I suppose you want to be a photographer. This I think is clear. But where you see yourself going, in which genre you see yourself
Oh, in
going,
genre,
or
I
you still want to try a bit?
think I'll be wanting to try everything still. Even in the future, I'll probably even start trying like automotive photography, more portraits, more maybe even macro. Just still experimenting now, and I still see myself experimenting, but maybe more with more structure in the future.
And is that something you prefer shooting?
I think landscapes for me are probably more like I tend to create more impactful images with landscapes, I think. So, and I
Mhm.
also enjoy going to these places like and photographing these amazing spaces. So I think landscape for me is something I enjoy the most.
Yes, and you have Scotland in the backyard, so
Exactly.
there's amazing places there
Got to take
to
advantage
find.
of it. Yeah.
Now, most people, when they start publishing on Instagram, people can see they are good photographers, they will follow them. But in your case, of course, you won a major world prize, so people are looking up to you. You think this gives a bit of pressure or just more motivation to push yourself forward?
And yeah, it motivates me, I think. I think I don't see there's nothing negative coming from it. So I just, I
Mhm.
think I just, even if I do get a few negative comments about whatever, that I think that still motivates me. And winning such an award motivates me to keep going. Yeah.
And you had friends now asking for photography classes, Daniel?
No, I do not have friends to ask if
No.
photography class. But I'd be willing to give them for free if they wanted to.
Well, it's a good start, but don't give everything away for free. Eh? You have to win money at one point. So then you studied photography, then you come home and then you do maybe some other photography. You see yourself moving all into content creation, something like on TikTok or YouTube or something like this in the future?
Yes, definitely. I think if I was the way I'm going now is I'll probably be a full-time content creator. And I think with content creation is photography. And then I'll probably have to learn videography. And it's all these
Mhm.
sort of skills that combine for content creation. So I think that's probably where we're heading for this. Right.
Well, I'm following you, so I will keep a close eye on everything that you push out.
Yes.
Daniel, this was a very nice short interview,
Yes.
and congrats again on winning the
Thank you very much. Yes.
Youth Award from Sony. I mean, that's just amazing. I have no idea how many people enter the competition, but you have to think it's a few thousand. So
Yeah. And then I think a few people, you can enter up to 3 images for free. So there must have been thousands of images. Yeah.
you entered for this year.
Yeah, I've entered this area again. Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the best. Who knows
Yes.
what
Thank
comes
you.
out? Daniel, have a great afternoon. I still light outside. I see. So
Yes.
take your camera, go out,
Just about to do
do
that.
some
Yes.
astrophotography later, and then I will see tomorrow what you post on your Instagram.
Great. Yeah.
Daniel, thanks a lot for this short
Thanks for having
interview,
me.
and we keep in touch.
Yes.
Okay.
Great. Perfect.
I see you around. Bye.
Bye.
And that was my conversation with Daniel Murray, folks. Stories like this are a good reminder that photography doesn't always start with a plan or with the perfect gear. Sometimes it starts with something simple, trying things out and following curiosity a bit further than most people would. You know, if you want to see more of Daniel's work, you can find everything back in the show notes. And of course, you can listen to this episode and many more on our podcast channels. And if you enjoyed the talk here today, the stories, and maybe had a few laughs, subscribe, leave a comment, and let us know which part stayed with you the most. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week here on the channel, where photography stories brew hotter than coffee.